Hi everyone, my name is Greg Germer, and this is the Weekly Ronde. Alright, first let's talk about the Giro dei Lombardi, the final World Tour event of the year. It was won by Esteban Chavez from Orica Green Edge. The Colombian took the first World Tour event of that country's history, bolstering them a bit in national pride this week, and overall was a very good result for Orica Green Edge. More so, we had Peter Sagan securing the World Tour overall, well, some that we knew from last week, and Movistar taking the team overall for the World Tour. With that, we really just have the World Championships on October 16th coming up in Doha. Okay, and now with road out of the way, let's talk about cyclocross. We first have up the KMC Cyclocross Fest out in Connecticut, a move from Rhode Island from the previous year. And we also had Nearpelt and Heaton, the first super prestige of the year. Day one, we had Stephen Hyde taking the win over Jamie Driscoll, followed by Kerry Warner in third. Craziest part of the day was Stephen Hyde crashing on the descent at the KMC Cyclocross Festival. They had a pro-only descent that was, by and large, definitely pro-only. It was a Euro-style crazy drop-off. One really good rut line to take, but if you didn't hit it right, you were crashing. He was able to recover from that and just keep on going with ease. He made crashing with style. On the women's side, we had, again, Katie Compton. Who can stop this woman at all this year? I can't wait to see her racing in Europe, where the depth is just a little bit more than the US, but right now, nobody is able to touch her. Second place, we had Ellen Noble, and in third place, a continually good rider, Rebecca Fahringer. This is a continuation of great results. Day two at the KMC Cyclocross Fest, we had Curtis White taking the win over Stephen Hyde with Danny Summerhill in third. For Curtis, this is probably one of his biggest wins of his career, definitely against a good field of solid riders. And for a young rider, he is definitely showing his form and development for the years to come. Day two for the women, we had again Katie Compton taking the win over Carolyn Manny, and another name that just keeps popping up, Rebecca Fahringer. What we are seeing is a totally new Katie Compton. What I'm most interested in is seeing how she can progress throughout the entire season with a newly modified, shorter schedule that doesn't see her going to Europe as much. I think she's only going to be doing the World Cups for Coxside, maybe the one in Germany, and she won't be doing the Christmas cross period. After which she's going to be focused on nationals and the World Championships. It's a noteworthy gamble that she can take for next year. Overall, I really liked the KMC Cyclocross Fest. The course was interesting, dynamic, had some great features, made for some great photos and short videos that I was able to watch online. The new venue, I liked. We know that the KMC Cyclocross Festival has been pushing toward becoming a World Cup in years to come. Even this year they were trying and pushing for it and they weren't able to secure it. But this could see us with not one, not two, but 3 World Cups in the US. What's going to be interesting is seeing how and where they place these World Cups in the schedule and how it's going to affect the European riders wanting to come over. Personally, I only see place for 2 World Cups in the US on the World Cup schedule. Otherwise, it just feels way too North American heavy, and you're going to get a lot of pushback from the European riders. On Saturday, we had Nearpelt with Sophie de Boer taking the win, obviously showing zero signs of having problems with jet lag or travel issues after her World Cup win in Las Vegas. She had a solid result at the Iowa World Cup, and overall, she is going to keep moving up and up in those rankings every week with results like this. On the men's side, you had Lawrence Swake taking the win. Swake has been very good last year, but almost every race he would get to the front, have his time, be able to really be there for the first 15-20 minutes, and then he was fading back. This year, on the other hand, he is getting to the front, he is riding solid, he's looking confident up there. I'm going to call it right now, he is going to be the best young rider for this year, really. On Sunday, we had the first race of the Super Prestige Heaton. Sana Kant was able to take a convincing win in the women's race and is definitely going to bolster her confidence over her performances at the World Cups. She definitely did have some, I would say, negative or lackluster reviews in the newspapers over her results in the World Cups in the US. And what it probably comes down to more than anything is the travel. She's not always able to perform at that top level. And it might just simply be that she's very good at racing within her comfortable environment, but if she has to travel, it may not be her thing. And also, we saw the European debut of Elle Anderson. She was sixth on the day, not a bad result. She just got into Europe, probably just getting settled in. She was sick in Iowa, so I'm a sixth place in a super prestige C1. That's a pretty good result for the day. In the men's race, we saw the return of Matthew Van Der Poel and Lars Van der Haar. Both these riders have been out with injuries, so it was great to see them back in action. But on the day of, it was definitely Matthew Van Der Poel who was the strongest rider of the day. Every time they hit the uphill sand section just before the finish, he was one of the few riders that was able to cleanly ride through it. More so, you had the only rider that was really able to challenge Wout van Aert so far this year. The two of them went head to head, with one rider attacking the other every moment they got a chance. It was a spectacular race with the lead changing every moment, and we actually didn't know who was going to win this race until the very final moments. Unfortunately, you had Wout van Aert putting his bike down with probably just a little bit too much force, and it kicked his chain off. And right there, that was the end of his race for him. These two riders are the new guard. The old guard, with Sven's retirement, are now pretty much gone from the peloton. And it's a whole new crop of racing, a whole new dynamic, and it's going to be very good for the spectator side of this. And now for the news. One of the articles I found that was probably the coolest and I really enjoyed was a article about the day 3 of Jingle Cross, and it was about the Telenut Fidea Lion riders actually pitting for the mechanics that had helped them the whole previous week. It's always great to see young guys giving back to the guys that helped them, and it was also really nice to see a lot of the Belgian guys and kind of embracing the more laissez-faire or laid-back approach that the US cross scene has. More than that, we have, if you haven't seen this one already, well, you haven't been on the internet. And this comes from the Red Hook Crit out in Milan, the final race for them of that series, where one of the riders during a qualifying race ended up crashing. It kind of broke his bike or damaged his bike, and he was walking it back to the start-finish line, and he does a full-on body slam to the bike. That is definitely not how you're going to want to treat a bike. One of the more interesting transfers this week was Taylor Phinney leaving BMC for Cannondale Drapac. The rider actually started off with Jonathan Vaughters back in the day when he first became a professional rider, kind of was poached by Lance Armstrong during his heyday. There's also a link down below to a great interview and read about his thoughts and a little overview of the season from him. Let's talk about how not to start off your World Tour career. And basically, that would be by not making it to the start line. Unfortunately, that's what happened to Orca Green Edge rider Rob Powers at Lombardy. I think he got a little too carried away, hanging out in the team bus, probably like, oh man, this thing is awesome, got, a great place to hang, got a little cappuccino, but then he forgot to get to the start line. And last, we're going to talk about Tom Boonen, probably one of my favorite riders from the peloton. I actually got to race with him back in the day. But more than that, he's going to be retiring after Paris-Roubaix next year. He's even said even if he wins the World Championships in Doha, it doesn't matter. That will be the end of his career. All right, that's it. I'm Greg Germer. That's the Weekly Ronde, and I'll see you next week.